Good morning. Probably better. Good morning. Yeah, that's good. How many of you guys slept less than 3 hours last night? Be honest. That's why you're not just me a good morning. You're like, good morning. Almost over. How about if I talk for a long time and you can take a nap? I'm just kidding. We won't talk for a long time. I want to welcome our visitors. We have many today visiting. We had our 32nd annual Junior Olympics, and the last couple of days has been a wonderful time. About 120 young people and their advisors from around the Tampa Bay area, from Newport Richie, from Tarpon Springs, from Clearwater, St. Stephanos, of course, Tampa, engaging in wholesome Christian athletics competition for most of the time. And it was Christian all the time. It was wholesome most of the time. And just enjoying this special time together. I also want to wish Happy Father's Day to all of our fathers out there. Nice to see so many fathers in church today. And a couple of announcements this week. I'm going to be away Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm going to be at the Clergy Bathing Conference in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm coming back on Friday afternoon in time to celebrate liturgy Friday night. There will be divine liturgy here this coming Friday night at 6 o'clock for the feast of St. John the Baptist, his nativity. We, of course, our Church of St. John. There are many holidays of St. John. Our big one is in January, but the nativity of St. John the Baptist is on Saturday the 24th, but we're going to have divine liturgy Friday night, the night before at 6 o'clock, so that's this Friday night. So I'm going to start off with a question. How many of you people have ever seen the show Family Feud? Family Feud. How many Goyans have seen the show Family Feud? All right, so I'm going to call on one person from each community to answer this question. Name a sport you like to watch but that you would never play. All right, Tarpon, what? Golf. Why? Is it dangerous? Okay. You like watching, it's hard to play. Okay. Hockey, okay. So we got Tarpon and Tampa. Clearwater, yes. Rugby, okay. That's we're getting more on the dangerous side. Okay, Newport Richie. Anybody Newport Richie? Who wants something like this? St. Pete? I know we've got St. Pete people here. The sport that you would like to watch but would never play. Tennis. I mean, it's one dangerous sport. Yeah, what? Water polo? Boxing. See, I would say I like watching, but I would never do ski jumping. All right, so there are sports. There are sports out there that we enjoy watching that we would never, ever dream of playing. I probably have about 20 of them on my list. And now that I'm older, the list gets even longer because I don't want to be like, beat up the next day. Too bad. How do we learn how to play sports? We learned sports first and foremost by watching them. Before we picked up a ball or a bat, we decided we watched something either on TV or we watched somebody older than us do it, and we said, that seems interesting. Just like now, we watch certain things and we say, you know what? That's interesting to watch, but not interested in doing it. I liked ski jumping when I was like 5 years old, but I never had an inclination to be like, oh, I want to go off one of those high ramps and just go out into thin air without any kind of poles or protection. I always liked that sport, but I would never dream of doing it. But there were other things that I watched when I was a kid, and I couldn't wait to do them. I mean, my favorite baseball player growing up was Cal Ripken Jr. I don't know if you remember him, that played for the Orioles. And when I played baseball, my batting stance was just like his. And he wore a batting glove on only one hand, so did I. All right? This is how we learn how to play sports. We learn by watching. That gets us interested, and then we start doing it, and we start enjoying doing it, and it becomes an important part of who we are and what we're doing. So, you guys that are Goyans, a lot of things that you do in your life, you learn by watching your parents. Right now, your parents, maybe they don't play sports, but they have things that they do. They have marriages, they have jobs, they keep their house a certain way, and you watch that, and you pick up on that. For instance, if your parents never clean the house, When you are an adult and you have your own house, you are less likely to clean your house because you grew up in a house that wasn't clean. If your parents are always cleaning and dusting and vacuuming, you're more likely to do that because that's what you grow up watching. All right? Just like if you always watch basketball, you're more likely to go out and pick up a basketball. And just know this, you guys that are teenagers, do you know who's looking up to you? The 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds. You know there were 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds that were watching the basketball games yesterday and the volleyball games, and so they saw the laughing and they saw the good shots, they saw the cheap shots, and they saw all the shots. And they're going to grow up with some idea that, you know, when I'm going to be a teen, I'm going to be just like this. So whether you think about it or not, or acknowledge it or not, you're actually kind of a role model for people that you don't even know, just like your parents are a role model for you. And not all role models are good. A role model means someone that you model yourself after. There are plenty of bad ones out there. So one of the things I want to leave you with as we leave this weekend is the idea that you're a role model whether you think you are or not. So be a good role model in sports, in school, and in life. How many people have ever had the experience of following a car? You're going somewhere, and you don't know where you're going, and you're going in a caravan of cars, and the lead car says, just follow me, and I'll get you to the hotel. How many adults have ever had that happen? And we've all done that. You don't know where the hotel is, or the ball field, or wherever you're going, and the person who's in the lead car says, just follow me, and I'll get you there. And the person who's leading hopefully checks the rear view mirror periodically to make sure that they didn't lose you, and hopefully doesn't run a red light and leave you in the dust. But hopefully the person who's, and we've all had that happen, like, I'm supposed to follow you, and you're like just blowing through all the red lights, and I have no chance to keep up without really breaking the law, and it's really kind of annoying. But when you're in the car following, you got to keep your eye on the car ahead. You can't be like, you know, we're going this way, but I feel like a left-hand turn is called for here, so I'm just going to kind of veer off, and then however will I find them? All right, so when you're following in the second car, the third car, the fourth car, you actually got to keep your eye on the people ahead of you and keep on following, or you're never going to get to where you're going. All right, so why am I talking about this? Because in the gospel lesson today, Jesus called some fishermen, Peter and Andrew and James and John, and he said, follow me, follow me. All right, and follow me, meaning following Jesus, means a lot more than, all right, I'll open the Bible once in a blue moon, or I'll say a prayer on Sundays, or I'll be really nice when I go to Goya. Following means that he gets the lead, we keep our eye on him, and we follow along, the same way that you would if you're following someone in a car to some unknown destination. If you don't keep your eye on the lead car, you will get lost. Just like if we don't keep our eye on Jesus Christ, we're going to get lost somehow in our life. We're going to get lost somehow in our life. So Jesus calls us to follow him. And he calls us to follow him in a variety of ways. He calls each of us to some kind of vocation. When I was 7 years old, before I was old enough to go to Goya, I felt that he called me to be a priest. And I ran away from that call for a long time, actually. I didn't really give in to that call until I was 21. But I knew when I was 7, somewhere deep down, that I'd end up doing this. And even on my worst days, and I've had some pretty bad days recently, I'm like, I know I'm doing what he wants me to do. I know that. And at some point, each of you is going to feel some kind of call to do something. I really want to be a teacher. I really want to be an architect. I really like drawing. I really like counseling people. I really like reading. You're going to have some kind of a call. And in that call, whatever it is, you're supposed to glorify God. So God's given everybody some call to some vocation with some skill to do something to glorify him. And in that call, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher, whatever you're doing, we're called not only to glorify God, but to serve other people. And we glorify God by serving other people. So everyone is called to do that. Everybody is called to follow. God made us in his image and likeness, and somehow we mix it up and we say, I'm going to make God in my image and likeness. I'm going to make a God that kind of fits my idea. That's not how it is. God is the leader. He made us in his image so that we can follow him. And he is like the lead car taking us to salvation, and all we got to do is follow him and keep our eye on the prize. But many of us get these ideas like, you know, I think a left-hand turn would be good here. And then we kind of get lost and we lose track of where we're going. So we're called to follow him, to drop what we're doing and let him have the lead. Just like when you're in that second car and you're like, gosh, I wonder why we're turning right here. But you're like, you know what, I don't know where I'm going, so I'm going to turn right anyway. And just trust that I'm going to get where I'm going. Just like in life, sometimes we're like, I'm not sure why my life took this right-hand turn or this left-hand turn or why I'm stalled. But I'm just going to keep going and trust that God knows what he's doing. So we're called to follow. We're called to sacrifice. Jesus went to these disciples in the boat and he said, take up your stuff and leave your boat and leave your family and follow me. That's pretty harsh. But that's what it means to follow. That's what it means to follow. It means you've got to give up something. Nothing worthwhile happens without giving up something. In fact, in order to love someone, you have to give up something. Because in order to love, love is something that I take from me and I give to you. I cannot love myself because that is taking from me and giving back to me. I can respect myself, I can have confidence in myself, but love by its own definition is I take from me and I give to someone else. So in order to love God, there's a necessary taking from yourself and giving to God. And we give to God by giving directly to him and also by giving to other people. That's sacrifice. God calls each of us to serve in some way. I'm not only a priest so that I can make some money and put bread on my table. I'm supposed to be serving. And if I'm serving how you need service, not necessarily how I want to serve you, but how you need to be served. And there's one other way that God calls us. And this is something that we all forget, and you're going to be hearing more about this from me in the coming months. God calls us to bring others. There are plenty of people who serve and plenty of people who sacrifice and plenty of people who have a nice vocation that they feel that God called them to do, but they forget this one thing that's super important. God called us to call others, to bring others. In fact, that's the commandment of the church. In fact, we say that at every baptism. Everybody here who's been baptized, at your baptism, the priest read a gospel and it said, go therefore and make disciples of all nations. Go, make disciples. Not just come to church and enjoy your pareja and have your basketball and don't give a second thought to the people who are not in the church. He said, go and get more people and bring them to the church. Bring them to the gospel. And we're all called to do that. The last line of the gospel, and the gospel today, when you read it, you know, if you follow the daily gospel readings, you're like, wow, it's like only 5 verses, not much meat there. But if you actually look at the last verse of the gospel, it tells you what the purpose of the church is. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every infirmity among the people. What are the tasks of the church? To preach, to teach, and to heal. That's it. So where does basketball fit in that? Who learned something this weekend that didn't involve a sermon? Did anyone learn something this weekend? Not in church, not in a sermon? No one learned anything on the basketball court yesterday? Or the volleyball court? I learned something about how human beings interact. I learned that I can interact a little bit better. I learned that maybe some of you can interact better. I learned that I'm not always as kind as I should be. I learned that in conversation. I didn't need a priest to tell me, be more kind. I got in a conversation with someone and I walked away and I said, shoot, I should have been more kind there. Right? So we're learning all the time. Basketball was not just a waste of time, something to do for the weekend. It was an opportunity to teach you about God by being in Christian athletic competition. So that fits under the church, teaching, preaching, and healing. What's healing with the church? We all came today to receive communion. That's a great healing tool. We all got on our knees and we prayed. That's another healing tool. I'm hopefully teaching you something. All right, teaching, preaching, and healing. Look at all the things you do in your church, communities, and if they don't fit under one of these headings, teaching, preaching, or healing, we probably shouldn't be doing them. And if we've got teaching and preaching and healing in our churches, we know we're on the right track. And let's go look at our individual lives. Am I learning about God? Am I seeking healing for my own soul? Do I turn around and bring healing to others, or do I make others suffer? And one last comment about the gospel. He went about all Galilee preaching the gospel of the kingdom of God. So the preaching and teaching, the healing tell us what we're supposed to be doing, and the kingdom of God tells us where we're going. Where is all this leading? As I said the other day, when you're 80 years old, I hope you're not arguing in the nursing home and saying, 65 years ago, my team beat your team in the Olympics 2017. I hope you're thinking about, I believe in God, I raised my children to believe in God, I have a marriage that's centered around God, and I'm 80 years old, I'm not going to live forever, so one of these days I'm going to go meet God. I hope that's what you're talking about when you're 80 years old, the kingdom of God. And you can say, on the way to the kingdom, boy, did we have fun in 2017 at the Junior Olympics. And yeah, my team beat your team. I'm just kidding. What was the one word I said on Friday, you guys? I hope someone remembers. What's the one word you're supposed to have on your sign today? Anyone remember the one word I said? What was the one word I said back there? Scream it out. Dignity. Dignity. I talked the other day about what does your sign say about you? This sign says, this one right here, says, I'm a Christian. So what's behind that sign? A sign that says I'm a hypocrite, I'm irresponsible, I'm mean? Or does it say I'm loving, I'm serving, I'm following? We all wear this sign. Not everyone wears a big one like I do, but we all wear this sign. Everyone who's in here is a Christian. So whatever's behind that sign should match this sign. Let's worry about the dignity of ourselves and the dignity of one another, teaching, preaching, healing, following, and it's going to lead us to the kingdom of God. That's what this church is all about, and that's what this life is all about. And I hope that you took a step in one of these directions this weekend as we had our Junior Olympics. So now, as we are to depart from here, I want to recognize a couple people. We're going to go in the hall in a minute. We're going to have a wonderful lunch. We're going to have an awards ceremony, lots of medals on the table. But I want to thank 4 specific people in church this morning. And I want to start out with Charlie. Come over here, Charlie. Charlie and I did some bonding this morning. At about 2:30, we were laying out some medals on the table, and I said, Charlie, we're going to lay out the gold, the silver, and the bronze medals. And Charlie says, no, Father, it probably would go better if you put the gold on the bottom and then the silver and then the bronze. He's going to take the bronze first. So we kind of looked at each other, and I said, okay, we'll do it your way. All right, so you'll never know what happened at 2:30 this morning. Only Charlie and I know what happened at 2:30 this morning in the hall. We had a little music on. We're laughing. We're both delirious from no sleep. But what does Charlie do here? I don't know if I could write a list of what Charlie does here. What I do know is that when something needs to get done, between me and Charlie, it gets done. And sometimes it's really obvious what Charlie's doing because he's visiting someone who's sick, or he's teaching a Bible class, but more often than not, what Charlie's doing is not seen. It's telling me, Father, the bronze goes on top of the silver and the gold, so when you go do your thing today, it'll be easier for you. Charlie kind of sets the table and covers up all of my little flaws. All right? So I don't talk enough about Charlie. But what Charlie's doing is invaluable, and your service this week, and especially, was invaluable and exemplary. And I thank you for that. Thank you, Father. And all year round. Next person I want to recognize is Dwight Ford. Come on up here, Dwight. What do you think is like the favorite phrase a priest hears? Yes? Good, yes. Whatever you need, Father, I'm willing to help out. And that's Dwight. Dwight went out. Dwight went out and bought all kinds of little things that I needed, and when I forgot something and said, by the way, Dwight, I forgot that. Oh, okay, I'll go and do that too. Dwight took a couple days off work to come here and just make sure that everything was set up just so. You know, most events are going to succeed or fail before they even start based on how they're set up. And so Dwight made sure that the setup was great so that once we pressed go, everything fell right into place. And while we were doing things, he ran our dodgeball and our basketball and went to the faraway venue that I didn't want to go to and just kind of took care of a lot of things. And we could not have done this weekend without you. So thank you, Dwight. God bless you. And next, I'd like to ask Maria Kutramanis to come up here. Where's Maria at? All right. Come here, Maria. Maria is our lead Goy advisor, and along with Kara Katsaris. And Maria did a lot of the setup and logistics of this weekend. First, starting off with our own kids, who's going to drive who to where and when, and keep everyone alive in the hotel. And when I got to the hotel at like 3 o'clock this morning, Maria says, I'm still awake, and they're all still alive. Those are other great words the priest likes to hear. All the kids are alive, they're all accounted for, the doors are open where they're in their rooms, and that's awesome. And then just the logistics for this weekend, helping me out with various things, running around, kind of coordinating all the different things. I could not have done this weekend without you, so thank you so much, Maria, for everything that you're doing here.
Thank you, Father.
God bless you. And we have that's for you as well. God bless you. And the last person I want to recognize is not even from our community, but stepped up and went like above and beyond and shared part of Charlie and my bonding session this morning, and that is Christine Horan. Please come up here, Christine. Father Stavros is not so smart, especially when it comes to technology, and I have a way of doing things, and Christine's like, that's like 10 times more work than you need to be doing. I can just push a couple buttons in Excel, and we can just make it all happen. And I said, okay, that sounds great, but can you at least put it like in English Excel, because I don't know really Excel anything. And so she said, Father, I can make this, and I can make a dashboard for you. And I said, a dashboard is the thing in my car, And she said, no, it's a computer thing. So it's a feature on the computer. It just makes your life easier. And not only she got all this stuff done before we were going, she was putting all the stuff in as we were going. And last night during the dance, she said, I just need some quiet place to keep on going. And Christine said, we finished the dance, and me and her and Charlie are here. And she said, how long do you think you can stay here? And I'm like, I don't know, as long as you can stay here. And I wore out before she did, typing stuff in. But we were like putting cards out, and everything is just set in the hall next door. And I'm just so thankful, Christine, for you stepping up and helping us out with that. God bless you. And Christine is from Holy Trinity in Clearwater. So thank you, and just what a nice brotherly, sisterly spirit with our sister parish. God bless you. All right. So with that, I will distribute andidron, and we'll go next door. We'll have some food. We'll pass out some awards, and the greeters that I'm supposed to mention today, because I always forget to do that, is wait a minute. Skip Higgin, who's right in the front. Joanna Ford over there, and Sandra Pappas, who's right over there. And so if you're new to our area and want to stay part of our parish, then you please come and give them your information on these beautiful cards on your way out of church.
Before we do that, we thanked a lot of people, and there's certainly a lot of other people to thank. And I thought I was a hard worker before I came to St. John's. But when I see Father Stavros work, I don't think I'm that great of a worker. So if you know, Father Stavros is usually here like 24 hours a day, most of the time, doing everything else. So with a couple weeks' notice, Father Stavros put his life on pause so that way we can make this event happen this weekend. So I want to thank Father Stavros on behalf of all of the communities for putting your life on pause to make this happen and to make it happen in a great way.
Thank you all. That's very, very kind. Just please, if I can ask one favor, because I did put some stuff on pause for a couple weeks. I'm 12 days away from going to summer camp. I got a 3-day detour this week, and I really have no idea, other than with God's help and your prayers, how I'm going to get everything done just right. So just please pray for me for efficiency and good health this week. And again, thank you all for being here. We're going to split the bread.